Welcome back to Metal of Honour. I'm Yidna. I'm hoping you've already seen part one of this. This is literally going to roll straight on from part one of this video. If you haven't seen that yet, feel free to pause this, come out of it, watch the first bit. But if you're just interested in stone setting, you only need to watch this one. But the part one, it's been like my first video for how to work platinum. Quite simple techniques, but it's quite an important lesson to learn. If you want to learn the stone setting, please watch all the video. I'll be talking through the whole thing, describing what I'm doing, along with lots of other extras. And again, like I said in the previous video at the beginning, if you just want to see the process, by all means hit the settings, watch it on a time lapse, speed it up so you can see it. You might find it a bit more interesting, and you might want to watch sort of more of it. But yeah, thanks for coming back. I hope you enjoy it. Any questions, chuck in the comments. Yeah, so we're back again for part two. Just recap over this a little bit, because I didn't really fully explain the last few seconds of the last video. So this is that GRS thermo lock. Just pull it in. I'll just pull it in my ultrasonic for maybe 15 minutes or so. And I've got it in the ball vise. Sometimes if I'm doing this, I might just put it in my normal wedge bottom hand clamps. If it's something that I'm not recording, I find it a lot quicker, and I can change the angles quickly when it's on a clamp. But for recording purposes, which does make it harder for me, I just put it in like the ball vise. And basically, while it's still hot, you can see how malleable that is. And as it cools, it kind of pulls away from your actual piece of work. Sorry, excuse me. So for the first, I don't know what you say, maybe like the first minute or so, as bits are falling, as it's pulling away from the area, I'm kind of gradually keep pushing bits in, so it sort of gets in all those like little nooks and crannies, you know, to help. Because as you start drilling as well, it's going to start warming up, and it might even start shifting. If it does that, you just stop working, just let it cool down again, even if it means you've only got to do like bit by bit. But if you've got a sharp burr, you're going to find it takes off a lot more metal, you're going to work quicker, and it's going to cut into that metal before heating it up too much. Like if you used a blunt burr, like ball burr for certain bits, it's really going to sort of make more contact with the metal, heating it up a lot quicker, and it's going to make this thermolock plastic malleable, and your piece of work is going to start slipping, or it's going to push in, all that sort of thing. So sharp little drill bits and tools is absolute key for this being straightforward, or as straightforward as a marquee possibly could be. You can see that all these bits is just me using like the back of a polishing mop, just pushing the thermolock in, still trying to get as much in there while it's doing its first little bit of cooling down. For the centres of the collets, obviously you don't really want to drill the plastic so you can get like the point of the stone to sit in, but you still want clearance. So just grab a tiny dead burr or tweezers, and you can push those little bits down as well if they're sitting up too high. You can see I've got quite good clearance there. So the one bit you missed there actually was before I started recording doing the ball burrs. I think I gave it about 10-15 minutes just to cool down. I just got on with another job while it was cooling, so you don't waste any time. Same as like if you're quoting for a customer to do it, you wouldn't quote them for like cool down time. When you're literally pricing the job and quoting, you're just charging for the work that you're doing on there. So it's just more time management. You just crack on with something else that needs doing. And if you're as busy as me and doing so much work, that there's always something else that needs doing. So like for these, starting off with the round stones, because they're the ones that are just so easy. Yeah, just make light work of all these sort of things. And the sharp ball burr, just getting in to like those sections, just so it's a little bit smaller than the actual stone. So I think those stones were like 3mm, so that ball burr was like 2.9mm, so a little bit too big. I would get a lorry that drives past just when I'm trying to explain that. I think this was about like a 2mm or 2.1mm bearing cutter. Basically just cut it, you can see like what burr it is, but it's just cutting a little ridge just for the stone to sit under. They vary, like sometimes you'll be able to just get the stone and kind of just poke it down with your nail, because the outer hole at the top is slightly smaller than the stone, but because you've created that bearing cut, you can just get it and push it with your actual nail. Whereas this one didn't quite go in, but you see me get my hand pusher tool and just give it a knock with a wooden end, and that will seat it under. I know so many people do have trouble getting stones just to sit in properly, whether it's rub overs or gypsy set, like the invisible setting. People do worry about like their stones coming out, or they've over polished the final ring or piece of jewellery, and the customers come back in a month because the stone's already been lost and come out. But when you do the hole a little bit smaller, do a bearing cutter, and it sort of knocks, as soon as you do a couple of presses, like even from what it's done now, you could literally give this to a customer and that stone will never come out. I know my stone will not come out at all. So this is the same as my previous videos on stone setting. If you want to see more about a more close-up version of the stone setting, it's worth watching my one that's got just the round garnet, where I'm doing half by hand, half with the hammer hand piece. Just because it's a bigger stone, it's round, the camera picks it up very well, whereas this one is more about me getting the stones in, showing you just me working. But same as that video, you're going like north to south, east to west, just working your way around all those separate little bits, just to get that wall pushed over. And also, when you use a bearing cutter, cutting in that actual, like a little groove there, when it comes to pushing down that actual ledge, it weakens it a little bit. Because you think as soon as you've gone one round of pushing that metal over the stone, you've kind of undone any of like the annealing process. That metal is already hard, you know. So creating that little rim, as well as sitting in nice, making the stone sit in nicely, you've made that ledge a lot easier for pushing in. So again, like on part one of this video, you see me use my sort of like the pulse welder for tacking bits together, for making the process quicker. And the reason I've done that is for the process of what I wanted to do for this particular video, but because in previous videos, very much the same as my stone setting, because I've done the bits by hand as well, basically to show that I can do that. It's how you originally get trained. But that's why I've sort of gone on to using these other tools that might be a little bit more money. Although a £100 hammer hand piece is a lot more affordable than like a £3 pulse welder for those sort of bits. But yeah, the only reason I'm doing this by hand is because I've done the other video that you can see of me showing you the differences and just showing how much quicker the hammer hand piece is. But yeah, if you watch those other videos, you'll see that it's just going to take you a little bit longer and maybe a little bit more filing, just to get things, just to get a little bit more just to save the end tweaking a bit more, you know. But yeah, later on when I do the engraving, you'll see me use the actual the GRS graver, which is a Graver Smith, not the Graver Mac. So it's more like the basic one, but it does everything. But that, even with a little hammer piece in it, you can do all the same thing. But again, that is a more expensive bit of kit as well. But this is by far the cheapest way of having some sort of mechanical stone setting tool. And even now, this is now 100% that these stones will never fall out. Of course, with a hammer handpiece, you don't want to accidentally get the stone, because even though it's a diamond, even though a lot of say like customers will be confused and be surprised when you say diamonds break, because they think it's the most expensive, the hardest mineral on earth. Which, yeah, it's hard, but they can still break. So I haven't given the dimensions of the actual marquee, because it's kind of irrelevant for the way I set these, because all the marquees are going to be a fraction different. But you're just going to get a ball burr the same width as your actual marquee, or as close as possible, and that's what you're going to sort of plunge that in the very centre first time. And you see the cement, the plastic warmed up a little bit there. So just with like a blunt tool, I'll just poke that in a little bit. And again here, what you can't see from the above bit, I'm kind of like manoeuvring it around again, like in the first video, when I was sort of working out the outside edge, what to bring in. But that centrepiece would actually be the same as the middle of that stone. So if it was a round stone that size, that would drop in like now. It would drop. But this is me just literally just making, again, a mental note of what that shape that I want to take away, how far from the inside I want to go outwards. And it'll always start with a bigger burr, and gradually going smaller and smaller. So obviously this one's a lot smaller than the previous burr, because that really was just to kind of find my foot in there. Just to get that main foundation sort of width in. And this bit I'm more carving to the V point, like sort of if it's like that, I'm gradually opening it. Even though there's going to be like a ledge sitting at the bottom there for the stone to sit on. Sorry, like that way. Obviously doing both ends with this size ball burr as well. And you'll only bring that as far into the corner as you can, as far as you can, but still keeping that mental note of where you see that green diamond or your general marquee shape, where you actually see it sitting. So you basically just bringing that corner in piece by piece, further and further. Okay. If you're only doing one of these for the first time, it might even be worth. You can see here that I've gone to a slightly smaller burr again, just gradually creating that little ledge inside that the stone's going to sit onto, and yeah, just getting further and further. Yeah, if you're doing one of these for the first time, you could even have a bit of maybe like a bit of 1.5 mil or even 1.2 mil. You probably get away with. Ideally 1.5 mil. Just a bit of silver sheet. Cut a pilot hole and do your main ball burr with the same width as the marquee, like what I did, and kind of even just scribe or just black pen, mark a rough sort of point, top and bottom of it, and just drill into that first. That's if you was going to try that sort of stone setting for the first time on a platinum collet. Probably not recommended, but yeah, I'd give it a go on a bit of silver first. You never know if it sits nice on that bit of silver, you could always, once the stone's set, obviously using like a semi-precious stone or something, if it looks good, you can always cut that out around the outside of it and file up the outside, but like leaving like a little branch on the top that you can maybe sort of curl over. You could even make a pendant out of like your little tester. But you can see I've gone down to, this is like a 0.6mm ball burr, this one. Unlike some of my other tungsten burrs that have the little yellow strip around, when you get down to the 0.6 they don't have that. So, but the bottom half of that taper on this burr, you can see it's that grayer colour. So that's the tungsten carbide sort of part of that, which is similar to the yellow banded tools. But yeah, so once you've got that 0.6 in, as you can see, like you have to keep sweeping it out. But every so often, just on like your little wax pin, just get your stone, sort of pop it on, and you just gradually see how far off you are. So you see by this stage, I know that it's mainly like the corners and just like a little bit of shaving at this stage that you might need to do. So again, I'm kind of studying like the overall. It's more like spatial awareness for just like, as far as the maths goes on it really is just like visual for like the area. You just got to kind of imagine bits not being there. So with the corners, this is just a knife edge spit stick, just to push in the main corners for that part. And this isn't too hard. And again, if you slip, because you're going that angle, it's just going to go down into the thing. Like I think I'd said before, I've got so many scars on the side of my hand from normal stone setting where it's just slipped. Mainly slipped because of the tool not being sharp. It needs to be resharpened. But yeah, but this, you're quite safe because it's literally going downwards. But then again after that bit, just going back in with small burrs, just gradually shaving until that stone sits low enough for you to be able to push the edge over. And if anyone's wondering as well, little tip, the wax pin, which is on the back of a broken paintbrush that I use for like the fluxing stuff, just chop off like the tall bit of it, and that bit of wax on the end, a bit of your charcoal block, like chances are you've got a bit of charcoal sitting about. If you haven't, just grab a bit of charcoal out. If you don't use charcoal blocks, chances are you've got a barbecue. If you get a bit of charcoal, or even if it's like the compressed charcoal, like the reconstituted stuff, you could just get a bit of that, just file off a few little bits of that, bit of beeswax, melt in with it, and just literally put it together like putty. And that's how you just make your own little wax pin. And they're really good, they're really handy. Does make quite a mess making them, but it's just cheap, and they're just better than the ones that you buy, really. But yeah, it's a good little tip, that one. Yeah, so again, this will, out of the whole setting of all of this bit here will be the section that you will guaranteed you'll get most frustrated with. But it really is just testing where the stone's sitting. If you get really close, I didn't need to do it on this because I got to the point where my stone sits in there, and I'm like, okay, happy days, start pushing it, start securing it in there in place. But sometimes if you just can't quite get the stone, you might find it when you're sort of doing this bit that looks like I'm just sort of like tickling it, you know. And if you keep doing that and it's not getting any further, sometimes you can get like a black Sharpie, or maybe like a finer black pen like what you see me sometimes use. Just coat it all inside, colour in the whole thing. Give it 30 seconds to dry. Put your stone in, like take it off the wax pin, and sort of put your nail there, take the wax pin off, and just give it a little wobble on the stone. And being a diamond or even a sapphire, it's not going to scratch it or anything. But doing that, you get your wax pin, take the stone out, then inside the collet, the bits where you can see like the raw metal is where the stone has made contact with that collet, and that's the bit inside. There might be loads of real black areas that aren't touched, and that means they're fine, the stone will go lower. But the bits that it's touching, they're the bits that you've got to shave away. Yeah, I thought the wax pin was going to be the best tip in the video, but actually that is. Any shaped stone, even if it's a square that's not quite, one point isn't quite going down. But yeah, I'll go through it again in case anyone has skipped through and not seen that. If your stone isn't quite getting low enough, like a shaped stone, not a round, because they're easy as anything, colour it all in again, black pen, 30 seconds, let it dry, put the stone in, give it a wobble, take it out. Any bits where the metal scratch, the pen scratched off, that you can see the metal, that's the bit you need to shave. Okay, so I've gone through it twice. But you can see, yeah, like my stone, it just went straight in. And unlike a round stone, north, east, south, west, you're going to go a little bit more gentle and just sort of do bits not on the corners. But it's, yeah, but still doing opposites, sort of going around the whole shape of the stone. The way you see me tilting it there, like making sure the stone at various points, you see me like sort of use the tool even, but maybe just pushing down gently on the stone. I would only do that with diamonds. Sometimes sapphires, but it's mainly diamonds, you're safe doing that. Like when you see me doing it with the hammer hand piece, like my foot is well off of the pedal that's operating that, because if I accidentally pressed it, it would just smash the diamond in half if I'm lucky. If I'm unlucky, it's going to turn one corner to dust even. But yeah, if you're doing something like a citrine or something, don't press that with a steel thing. Just try and get your nail in there and try and sort of push it down a little bit. And again, once it's secured, you see it, especially with the hammer hand piece, you see how easy that is to get that edge down. How easy it is to just to get that metal over. If you're going to end up doing quite a few sort of whether it's the invisible gypsy setting or rub overs like this, whatever shape, I highly recommend these hammer hand pieces. The ones my two drills are both, or my three drills, I always have a spare. I've actually got 4, but if you ever get one that does die, if you've had it for like 15-20 years or something and it's dead, keep it. Like, just be a hoarder for some bits, because the spare parts, there'll be bits in there that you might need one day and it will save you loads. So if you've got a bit of space for storing it, keep hold of it. But yeah, it's Fordham, the Fordham ones that I generally use. When you actually buy the hammer hand piece, they do say that I can't remember which one I've got. I've got the SR Fordham. I can't remember the name of the other one. I think it might be like LR or something. But there's one that is slightly lower speed. They say only use that with the hammer hand piece. But I use my hammer hand piece with the drill that they tell you not to. But I just don't go too heavy-handed, and you'll hear, if you do get one, you'll hear from, just from the volume, or not even the volume, sorry, you'll hear the speed that I'm roughly going at. And if you had one yourself and put it in for the first time, if you put your foot right down, it's gonna like maybe even shatter something inside the handpiece. But if you just like tap it gently and just hold it down very slightly and match what you can hear with what is in my videos for when I'm using that same tool, that is that's where you want to be. and it is by sound that you're going to hear that. And those hammer hand pieces, if you're ever doing anything that's really big and chunky, they do come with the instructions, but I kind of have mine just set on the mid-range, but there is like a little sleeve halfway up that you can turn and it changes how powerful it is. But whatever you do, you just match it to what I've got. So with like the cut 2 safety back now, you see me like gradually shaving off some of those nasty areas that the hammer hand piece has got into. You see the round ones, it's not always convenient to put the grey plastic, the Thermalock, too low, because you want to be able to set it nicely. Although sometimes, like you can see like this, when it comes to it, you can't get to all the angles. So sometimes with like filing off certain areas on it, you have to wait until it's off of the plastic and sort of do it manually while holding it to get to the areas that you need to. But you see, I'll still keep this on the plastic. I'll file off what I can while it's on there, while it's nice to hold and everything. But I will do the bright cut first, okay? And I said at the intro of the first one, if you're going to watch all of these, you should have grabbed some popcorn and some beer and stuff, get yourself set up, because overall it is a long video for both parts. But I'm starting to wish that I'd got a bit of break. It's a bit early for beer at the minute. It's quite hot out, considering it's stupid o'clock in the morning. It's quite hot out outside. Hopefully you can't hear my air conditioning unit on. It's pretty quiet. But yeah, but I wish I'd got some breakfast first before I'd done these. So obviously I've done the commentary for this one directly after the one that you've just seen. So you can see, like for this section here, it's getting harder and harder for me to get into the areas. So that's at the stage where I'll just give up and think, you know what, it's time to do the bright cut, and I'll come back to that when it's off of the actual collets, like that. So as well, for like next fault, when it comes to me doing the engraving, I do use the Graver Mac. I know, like I say, the stone setting, I have used the mechanical tools, because I've done plenty of other videos where I've done stone setting by hand, so I don't sort of feel guilty by using like the easier method, because I have shown you that I can do the hand stuff. But when it does come to the engraving on this, I do use the Graversmith GRS thingy with like a knife edge tool. Is what you'll see me using that, like the not knife edge, like the 90-degree scalper with a slight heel, which you would have seen me sharpening in a very recent video. You would have seen me using that. But it's only because, like, the nature of how I wanted this in the platinum, that I've just gone straight into using the mechanical sort of engraver. Sort of full well knowing that I haven't actually done a tutorial on standard engraving yet, but that one will come, so that you can see me doing it the same thing by hand, sort of naturally, with exactly the same tool, but just without the pneumatic air compressor and graver. But that will come. I will do that. Yeah, so you can see I did manage to get a little bit more of this filed up and be able to do a little bit of the papering. But it is more that, like when you see me doing the bright cut on this, you see like the edges, they don't look, especially on the round ones, it kind of looks a little bit like you fried an egg. So it's a little bit off, you know. But the nice round shape will come once it's completely off the Thermalock, and I'll get in there and just polish it, buff it up and sand it a bit nicer. So it's when you're trying to get into like delicate areas, that's when sometimes like these pre-made buff sticks can be quite handy. But yeah, they're always useful to have around. It's not often you have to use the pre-made stuff, but if you want an easy life, it's the best thing for this. Yeah, just quickly while I'm doing this bit before it all sort of comes off and stuff. The next video after this one, which shouldn't be too long after this one, I'm going to be making, I don't know, I don't really want to say what I'm, maybe in a few days I'll do the thumbnail, and I'll put a thumbnail on as like a post on the channel. So I don't want to give too much away of what it's going to be, because it's going to be something that even people that already that have been making jewellery for years don't ever use the technique, and maybe don't even know it exists, and they might make a similar thing the hard way. Oh, you know what, yeah, I kind of want to say what the next video is, but it's something that people can make so simply. It's another one of these sort of like game changer sort of scenarios. Yeah, you know, yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're gonna have to wait. I'll put some sort of teaser post on in a few days, or a few days after this one's been released. But it's a really interesting video and technique that you can basically, yeah, no, I'm just going to end up giving it away. Yeah, you're definitely going to want to watch the next video, because the first thing you're going to want to do after seeing it is buy a bit of Perspex. I'll leave it as that. You're going to want to buy a little bit of plastic, or some sort of scrap of plastic. You're going to want to make, you're going to want to have a go, because it's so ridiculously easy to do this little tip in the next video. Yeah, I'm just going to be waffling. I'll forget about that for now. But yeah, hopefully you'll stay around, like and subscribe, and come and watch that one. So you can see, yeah, so it's off the cement. To get it off the cement, you just put it back in the sonic, just to warm it up a little bit. Maybe even like 3-4 minutes for something that's just a flat pendant. Then you can just pick it off. But because you're going to be doing some engraving and bits, I'll literally leave that bit of thermolock in the ultrasonic. You can put it in if you don't really use an ultrasonic, or it's not a heated one, which is kind of hard if you're not using a heated sonic. But you can just boil a cup of water, you know, put your thermolock in there, and that will soften it enough. But yeah, so the thermolock this has come out of, it's being heated, ready for this to go back on. Sorry, yeah, I was chatting about that. I did miss the bright cut. So the bright cut you've seen me do in previous videos. You keep it nice and sharp, in the same way that I sharpened in the sharpening video for the flat scalper that's got the slight heel on the bottom where I drag it up when I'm sharpening, or when I'm polishing it. And same as normal, it's just gradually pull back, always turning the hand rather than the tool as much as possible. But yeah, it's quite straightforward when you've had a bit of practice. But the main setting video for the bright cutting is kind of an essential one. I think quite a few people have watched that one now, and I think quite a few people have found that helpful. So if you do need help with general pushing metal over and your stone setting, I'll put a link to the end in the end card on this video, so you can go back to that one and really see some details. So yeah, so at this stage you've got your marquise stone sitting in that, as well as the round ones, but obviously when you've got something that's got a marquise stone, the round setting process isn't quite as exciting. It's because the marquise is a bit trickier. You get it to this stage and you see how neat it looks, and it's not even been polished or anything, it's just been buffed. and it's, I don't know, it's only, even doing the amount of them that I've done in the past over the years, it's satisfying when you sort of like pull it off and it's like it looks how you imagined it, you know. So again on this bit, it's using that mixture of 400 grit, 800 grit, same as I always use, just for rounding areas off, smoothing bits out, blending down into the edges. Bear in mind that there's quite a few areas on this pendant that are still smooth from the previous process, even though we've heated it up. Being that it's the platinum, it's not oxidised, and you think this whole process we've not had to use acids. Even if you use like a safety pickle on silver and gold, there's still harmful chemicals, and we've not had to use any of that on this. And because we use the thermolock that just softens in hot water, like years ago I always used to use like the setting cement or engravers cement or stone setting cement. It's called all sorts of things, like the shellac that you have to put on the flame. When you get all that off, you have to put it in acetone. So even them sort of chemicals, we've not gone anywhere near any harmful chemicals while making this video. The most dangerous bit is obviously like going back to like early on in the previous video, when actually making it, we have to have like the welding goggles on. That was like the main dangerous bit. But yeah, but as far as like any sort of chemicals go, you've not used any. It's a very clean way of working. And again, these little felts, the ones that I trim by hand myself to shape, so that when they spin, they take the shape of whatever I'm pushing it on. There's the video that I've made of that as well, of how I make these. So if you haven't seen that yet, that's worth watching as well. So basically, while I'm pre-polishing this, getting it ready for the engraving, when you're going to see it go back on the thermolock a second time, I'll just mention, obviously I've done the video I think last month, or maybe a little bit before that. I've done like my workshop tour of things I have, but the workshop that I'm in now, my lease is up at the end of August, so we're actually and the new price we got for our renewal was a bit over the top. So basically we've said no. I think it wasn't sort of taken into consideration. When I got this workshop, we literally had it as a bare shell, so we got like a cheaper price per square foot, so it was a bit cheaper. And now it's come to renewal price, it's kind of been disregarded that the reason we were paying the price we were was because we literally put life into this workshop. But yeah, so we're actually off. When it comes to it, I might have a little play, but when it comes to setting up my new workshop, which is going to be about 10 weeks-ish, or 8 weeks, it's going to be roughly like a couple of months before I have to sort of close everything down, sort of not see customers or anything, literally put everything, all like the valuables into hiding, get my safe ready to move and all this sort of business. But I might, in the new workshop, put up maybe like a phone or something, just try and record a time lapse maybe of me setting up a new workshop. But it depends, there's like no promises there. But yeah, but I will be set up in a new workshop in a couple of months, and hopefully the extra space I'm going to have, I'm going to be able to create more ceiling points near the lights and stuff, so that I can actually bring the camera down, so I can get some new views of some of the work, which should be interesting. So I'm looking forward to playing with the camera and some of the angles there. hopefully I can make life easier for myself, and get some better viewing angles for all of you that are watching these. Yeah, so like I say, this is the 90-degree graver. It's a tungsten carbide one. This is the one you see me polish on the leather with the diamond powder as well, just to get a nice little finish to it. And yeah, the main difference is where I'm using the Graver Mac, oh not the Graver Mac, the Graver Smith, sorry, like in like previous life, before my own business, I used a Graver Mac, like a G8. I used and the Graver Mac AT, like the really expensive ones, and I used those for about I think it was about 7 years I'd used those ones, but mainly the G8 is what I used. But not having that for a while, and getting like myself like a Graver Smith, there's not really any difference. I can literally do everything I want with this one, and this is the cheaper model. So obviously if GRS are watching or get wind of this video and see that I've said that there's no point in getting the Graver Mac G8 or AT, I think they got a bit more power, but I'll do some heavy setting and engraving, like deep relief stuff. But if you're working on precious metals, you don't need anything more than a Graver Smith. Obviously they're still expensive, but maybe if you're doing more steel work, like actually like gun engraving and stuff on like fancy like shotgun barrels and things like that, or engraving knives with these, you might be better off with one of those. But if it's just precious metal, go for these ones. But yeah, if they obviously if my channel ever got quite big and I could sort of get sponsorships and stuff, I imagine GRS won't be contacting me, because yeah, don't bother with the expensive stuff, just get the cheap stuff. Yeah, and the main difference here, because it's got the air driven, it's almost like a mini version of those things you see when people are doing like roadworks, like the big jackhammers. Because it's like a little version of that. I literally hold the tool, press the foot pedal, that's like a sewing machine, or the same as your pendant drills, because you have to have the foot control for any of the tools really, for none of those like Dremel things where you've got to turn it on, and they're rubbish after you've used a proper drill. But yeah, so the main difference is when you're putting your foot on the pedal, you can hold the tool and it will go around. You just basically like aim and point. And the same with bright cutting, or like on the edge of the stones. Even though like this bit I'm sort of moving my right hand more, certain areas you'll find it a lot easier to turn the left hand again for certain bits. Some bits like this I'm trying to keep it in focus, so I'm kind of doing it the very awkward way of doing more with my right hand with the tool. But you'd find this easier with turning the left hand. But yeah, if I was doing this by hand, which I promise I will do a hand engraving video, or like a comparison, like I did with the setting video before. It's more like you sort of do like little movements and flick out, sort of going in, flicking out, still, but you kind of work quicker. But it's kind of digging, but in a, I don't know, it's more like I'm not sure how to describe it. I don't know, it's just more free flowing, and you sort of work quicker when you're doing the hand. Like the hand movements look quicker. It's quicker to do it with the like air engravers, just because it makes like a nice cut smooth. You just go for it, and it's there. And the same, you also see me use one of these as well on. It wasn't a tutorial video. It's a video that I was really looking forward to making, but it's where I done like a tiara for a Barbie. I think it literally had like 200 views. It's like one of my worst videos for how often it got watched. But which is a real shame. So I really enjoyed making that one, but I did use this engraver as well for that. But yeah, that was more just like a fun video that wasn't a tutorial, but so it just had like the music on the background instead, and just like a little intro thing. But yeah, so you see, like before you start all these, like you can't see it, but I've got like a separate design on the paper which shows me like pre-planned where I want to sort of do like my tapering, and where I want to put like my curved edges, and all like any sort of chamfers anywhere. Yeah, so obviously like I started this off with the 90 degree. You can see I'm using the flat sculper here. This one in particular, really I could have used this on the actual inside for the bright cut as well, and you would get a nice bright cut. But I think it's just the tradition. Even like years ago when I used to use like the other gravers, the GRS ones, when it comes to the bright cut, I just always like doing it by hand. It's just my preference. The only time I'll sometimes go to the graver, like the air graver, for doing a bright cut, is because when I'm doing these ones with diamonds, that flat sculper, I can rest it on the diamond a little bit and get really close. But if I was doing this on a garnet, especially if I'm using one that's like a tungsten, it's going to scratch the stone up so much. So sometimes if I've got like my microscope set up, or just the visors on, just like the eye glass things, which have like about like a 6-inch sort of focal length, but you see it, just so you can see it a bit better. But I'll use the air graver for doing a bright cut if it is a garnet or citrine, a softer stone, because it's just easier to cut. It's easier to see with a bit of magnification, and you protect the stone a little bit better. Yeah, it's the only time I'll use it for that. There's something about diamonds and bright cutting, I just love to do it by hand. That kind of sort of brings it to the very end of the video. But again, even on this bit, you can see me sort of using like my little trimmed felts again that I've shown how I make them. But it's these little things that just make life a lot easier. I was going to go to like the fluffy mops and do like final polishes and stuff. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. It was quite tough making this one, just making sure everything, or as much of it was in focus as possible. Even though like this stone setting part, there's more advice about other stuff that I've put in rather than the actual way I'm pushing and stuff, and sort of refer to other videos and bits. But yeah, I hope you've found it useful. If you've got any questions about any of it, same as always, please pop a comment down below, and please like and subscribe. Even if you weren't sure about this video, for the next video, for the thing that I'm doing that I want to show people, it's so worth a watch, and it will come out really nice on the video, and it's a very simple thing to do. I really can't say much more than that. There will be a teaser in maybe a couple of days. I'll put something on. I'll see if I can get the thumbnail done for it, get some photos done. But yeah, any comments, please chat down below. Thanks so much for all the views and likes, for the returning people. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And I'm still getting used to doing all this videoing and editing, especially while trying to sort of doing it around my normal sort of daily tasks and commissions and bits. But yeah, appreciate everyone that's like a regular, comments all the time. Yeah, nobody's forgotten. Appreciate all of you. But yeah, that's it for now. Just watch the end on your own. yeah, thanks so much. Take care.